Hey, peace and blessings, family. Thank you for joining us again. We're talking spiritual journeys, and I am joined today. I'm so grateful. I'm joined today by Ia Oyaremi.
Mhm.
Oh, God, I said it right. Y'all know I've been trying to work it out. So, sister, say your full name and what your name mean.
Well, my full name. So it is Iyalode, Oyaremi, Egbeyemi, Ifaruna, Ifalade, Oriyangi.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So my name is from my different initiations that I have in the Yoruba culture. I'm also called Yayi, Mariwanga Ndoke Pongu, and another culture, which is Ganga, Palomayombe. But my name basically means Egbe Yemi means Egbe loves me, and Oyaremi means Oya comforts me. Ifalade is my Oluwo's name that I carry. And Oriyangi means the stone of divinity or the rock or the head of divinity. So and Ifaruna means the oracle God sees. So it's a
That's
lot of different names that I carry, but I mostly most of the time go by Iyaremi.
mm.
Um that's
What is
about
the
it.
what is the second culture that you gave us another name from another culture? What culture is that, and where is that from?
So Palomayombi is a culture that is from the Congo, Angola. But
Oh,
it came by way of the slaves. Some of the culture went to Trinidad, some of it went to Mexico, and a lot of it went to Cuba. Cuba is actually the ones that originated the culture of Palo Mayombe, but it was once called Ganga.
mm.
Hmm.
How did you discover that traditional path?
So that it was weird. So
Okay.
I actually started off in New Orleans. I was practicing hoodoo and a little bit of voodoo. And then I had a reading done and stuff like that. And they were like, you're not going to get initiated into voodoo. And I ended up, well, Katrina hit it. And then I ended up coming here to Houston where I met Baba Ifalade, and we got to know each other and stuff like that. And I ended up going into the culture of Orisha and sitting as an apetibi for a few years under Ifa culture. And so as I traveled through that culture, you meet different people along the way. And I had some readings done. And they were telling me that my culture was, well, my ancestors were calling me to the Congo culture. And I never knew what it meant or how to get there because it's a very, very secret culture. They
Mm.
don't really talk about it much. And so when I did find my way there, I met this incredible guy who was my tata. And he did the work for me. And then I journeyed. He taught me everything I needed to know. And then a lot of the stuff I had to teach myself. And then you learn as you go along in the culture. We believe in the Orisha culture that every day of your life you are a student. You're going to be forever learning to the day you close your eyes. So you would never know the full extent of everything. You just keep on taking in and internalizing the knowledge and making sure you have wisdom to apply the knowledge.
Okay. So let's back up for a minute. You said you first started off in hoodoo and voodoo.
Mhm.
Where did those two? Because you like crossing a lot of stuff, which is awesome. So I'm really excited because I'm about to learn some stuff for real. But what is hoodoo and what is voodoo, and are they the same or are there differences? Like where they originate from?
So we can get really technical into these traditions, but I'm gonna try to make it as simple as possible so other people can understand.
Okay.
But hoodoo is both basically a gumbo of spirituality. It's a
Mm,
gumbo. It's a mixture of different things that our the root workers in our family have taken, the root doctors and the medicine men and the doulas, the big mamas, the medicine that they took from different cultures and spiritualities, and also the herbs and medicines that they've learned, and they kind of mixed it together and made this gumbo. I know rooted places of hoodoo is Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
is like what they consider, well, hoodoo was mostly birthed at. But from me being from New Orleans, a lot of that was in our culture too.
Right
But
on.
New Orleans was really heavy in the culture of traditional New Orleans traditional voodoo, because it's not original voodoo that's like in the bush. And voodoo being birthed from like the harmony and Benin, right? The Benin people. And I'm
Uh-huh.
sorry, the Dahomey people. So it came from the birthplace of Benin. And when it came to Iyalode, it was one of the medicines that we used to become free, like the Haitian Revolution and stuff like that. But then, by way of those places and all the places that our cousins got dropped off at,
Right on.
we ended up having, these different versions of voodoo. You'll have a version of voodoo that may be in Louisiana, which may
Mhm.
not be the same thing that is in New Orleans, because they actually call the practice of voodoo in New Orleans traditional voodoo.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, a lot of our spirituality is a mixed gumbo. Even when you look at the way that we practice Orisha tradition here, you have
Mhm.
people that practice Santeria, you have people that practice Lukumi, you have people
Mhm.
that practice Oyotunji, because Oyotunji has its own style.
Yeah.
And then you have people that go back to Africa to actually receive Isheshe, so they know the actual practice of Ifa through tradition, you know?
Right on. Right on.
But I don't consider any of those ways incorrect, because we all find a way to reach spirit.
Right on. Right on. Okay, you broke that down pretty good. So we know that usually people associate hoodoo or with southern practices out of the South. I mean, you said New Orleans, that's in the South. And then voodoo with Haiti. How do you ever see, and particularly those three coming together at all? Do they overlap sometimes with their initiates or no? With their
So
practitioners?
we don't mix the rituals. We do
Okay.
not mix the rituals. Now the culture can be blended. Like you may have somebody that may be initiated in all those different cultures and they honor each and every last one of them. But we do not blend the rituals out of respect. Do I feel like there is a lot of similarities in these different traditions? Yes, I do. And I might get beat up for saying that.
Okay.
But by me practicing those different cultures, I can see where I can match a Loa to an Orisha.
Mm,
And I can
mhm,
match an Orisha to a native spirit, or I can match that spirit to an Mpungu. Like these different energies have similarities in a lot of different ways. But do we mix the ritual? Absolutely not. It can be very dangerous to mix
mhm.
those rituals. And then some cultures have certain things they do one way, whereas another culture may do it a completely different way.
Right on.
So there are similarities, but there's definitely a lot of differences too.
So, how did you first? Were you born into this tradition when you were growing up, or did you discover it?
So basically, I'm from New Orleans. So everything we did was spiritual. We met up every weekend. The family got together. We would play music. They would play drums. My daddy was heavy into music.
Hmm.
So music and drums and singing and being with the family and eating and stuff like that. Natural medicines, like my grandmothers were both heavy into herbal medicine. They never believed in taking medications from the pharmacy, and they lived long lives. And so
Mm,
they were already witch doctors. They were already doulas. Like they didn't believe in, oh, you got to go to the hospital to have a child. No, you're going to have this child right here in this tub or in this living room, and we're going to keep it pushing.
right on.
So it was already naturally in us or installed in us in New Orleans. Now you had a lot of people that were afraid a little bit, but they say in the culture of New Orleans, you were 99% voodoo.
Right on.
You were raised in it some kind of way. You were going to experience it some kind of way. Even when you go back and look at the Indian culture that we have in New Orleans, that's a mixture of the Buffalo Soldiers and the Native Americans. The Native
Mm,
Americans helped save a lot of our medicine when we were enslaved, when the Africans were enslaved. So there go another gumbo again.
hmm.
the mix between the Buffalo Soldiers, the slaves that didn't even know they were free yet, and the Native Americans that helped to save that medicine.
Right on, right on. It's interesting you say that. When you guys are doing, I want to say carnival, but um, what is that? I'm thinking of Brazil when I'm saying carnival. For y'all, it's
Mardi
Mardi
Gras.
Gras. So Mardi Gras. What is Mardi Gras?
So some kind of pagan stuff, but no. One part of it is it comes from the culture of Brazil. So a lot of people don't know that New Orleans has a heavy Brazilian cultural background.
Okay.
My grandfather actually is from Brazil. His name was Francisco de Silva. So the culture of Carnival came by way to New Orleans, but you also had the Native American culture that was mixed into the culture also. But a lot of this originated from the original ancestral societies, or like from the Bantu, or from like the masquerades that we had in
Hmm.
Africa. Because if you actually look at the symbolism that's inside of the beating of the Indian suits and stuff like that, you will see a lot of our Bantu knowledge
Hmm.
inside of that. A lot of our culture from Africa is in that. And then you can see the mixture in it also from the native culture, but it's a whole blend of celebrations of ancestral energy and celebrating the culture of who we are. But
Right on,
most of our energy is embedded in ancestral worship.
right on. What is ancestral worship?
So that's the beautiful thing about it all. So, ancestral worship is honoring all those that come before us, but it actually gets deeper than just honoring our blood ancestors. Because when
Mm,
you understand ancestors, you understand that you are made of everything of the universe.
mm,
So when we say ancestors, we mean deeper than that. We mean the rocks, we mean the trees, we mean the water, the stones, the air, everything about who we are, everything that is inside of our body is an ancestral spirit. And the Bantu taught us this energy. This is how Egungun got masquerade. This is how the Asians and had the culture of that they have when they worship their ancestors. When they
hmm.
came through Africa and they met up with the Bantu. The Bantu was heavy on giving back reverence to the energies that came before. The stars, the universe, everything.
Wow. Bantu, like what part of Africa is that?
A lot of different parts. You had Bantu in Angola. You had them in they traveled to Nigeria. They was in Sudan, a lot of different places. But a lot of these cultures set with those people, and they were heavy into the ancestral traditions, and that's how that spread it all over. Because you know, a lot of people they worshipped the different gods first. You know, you
Hmm.
had the god of the wind, the god of the water, the ocean, so
Hmm.
on and so forth, but nobody actually was just focusing on those energies that came before us or where we come from. And that's one of the things that those people taught. But you had them down in Benin, up in the modern day Nigeria, like all of those different places. But they created this ancestral reverence that basically bled across all the continents.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so inside of Isheshe, how would you say that system is set up?
So Isheshe is mostly the system of Ifa. And Ifa was, I believe Ifa was founded, I may be wrong on the date, but I think one of the first kingdoms was like 900 AD or something like that, but a
Mm,
little bit before that. But the culture of the Isheshe of Ifa was actually founded by Oduduwa, who came into what we call the modern day Yoruba now, where the Orisha people were living, and he brought the medicine of Ifa in. And so that was the birthplace of that tradition of Ifa, or what we consider as Isheshe. But Isheshe just means tradition. So
gotcha.
anything can be Isheshe. Um, any culture can be Isheshe because it's tradition of the way things are always being done. But tradition is always growing. So The practice of Isheshe that we call it now today started down in Nigeria in what we call Ile-Ife. And from there it grew. And this is where the people for the first time mixed the Orisha culture and the Ifa culture together. And Ifa culture was mostly just the worship of Orumila being the divinity to get to Olodumare, or to get the sacred messages from Badu every day, which they say Eshu would climb up the tree every day to get the messages from Badu and bring it back down through the sacred Iki nuts. And they would use that to communicate with the people, doing a reading by divining with the instruments of Orumila.
Mm,
But there was also another culture that was already there, that they tend to always blend together because it works easy together, which was the Orisha culture. And the Orisha culture used something different, which was called Dilogun, to communicate with spirit, which they called them out of the Orisha, but it originally belonged to the Orisha Oshun. It was gifted to her, I believe, from Orumila. I may have that incorrect, but don't quote me on that.
okay.
Um, but there were actually two different cultures that came from there, but it blended together so well. But what people don't understand, that we also consider Orunmila to be an Orisha. And
Mm,
so it's actually easy for Orisha folks, because I'm not fully initiated into Ifa. I'm fully initiated into Orisha. So Orisha folks can still access having information from Orunmila, because they still had this communication. And then if you look at other cultures too that came from that area, like in, I think it was in Brazil, where they would look at Shango to be over divination instead
mm,
of Orunmila. So it's a whole bunch of different things that be going on. But when you do go back to Isheshe, or as far back as you can go with the documented knowledge that we have right now, you do find some wholeness in what we're doing, and you are able to connect those dots back together. So I do suggest that anybody that gets involved with the culture to go back and research the history of what we are and where we come from and why we do what we do. Because we have our own way here in America, because we have Americanized Ifa,
mm.
Americanized Orisha. But it's a beautiful thing to go back to Isheshe and find the things that we are missing. Because you actually find the rituals to be quite easy, because we were missing so much stuff that we ended up having these extra long rituals
Got you.
to substitute the medicine that we were missing, to make sure that we weren't missing anything.
Got you. Got you. So you said there's Orisha, because I've never heard someone talk like there's Orisha folks, and then there are Isheshe or
Fine.
Ifa.
Mhm.
So those two aren't the same?
So, in some
Okay.
cultures, they are
Okay.
the same because they blended them together.
Got you. Okay.
Now, you can practice Orisha tradition without being initiated into Ifa.
Got you. Got
You
you.
can be initiated into Ifa and don't practice Orisha tradition,
Got you.
because they literally are two different cultures. Now, the way that they have it now today is merged. But if you even go back to Africa, you can see where there would be people that are children of Oshun, and they may not even be a part of Ifa,
I
but
get that.
their village would be all Oshun. You will see priests of Obatala that may not be Ifa, but they can still do divination and esentayes and all kind of stuff for their culture and their people, because they'll have a whole tribe that are just Obatala worshippers.
Got you. Okay.
But of course, like I said, we ended up blending these things together, and then it became just one culture at this point in time. But
Got
they
it.
can work together.
Yeah,
It's just
that
that
makes
you
sense.
can be a priest of Orisha and not have to be a priest of Ifa. You can be a priest of Ifa and not have to be a priest of Orisha.
Got you. Got you. That makes some sense. So, what are you initiating into, and what does it mean when you're initiated?
So initiation is a process that you go through to be birthed. Instead of just having access to the Orisha or the spirits, and sometimes you actually have this spirit with you 24/7, 365 for the rest of your life.
Got you.
So it's sacred rites that you have to go through in order for you to become one with your spirit, whether it be an Orisha or whatever spirit that you are actually becoming a part of. So to be initiated into the culture means that you become a priest or you become a specialist in what you're doing. So let's just say you are initiated into a priestess of Oshun. If you become a priestess of Oshun, you learn everything about Oshun. What is her healing medicine? Where does she come from? Who is her people? Where did her stories originate? What are her patakis, which means stories? What is
Mhm.
what are some things that characteristics of Oshun? What does the energy feel like of Oshun? You know,
Mm,
so it's like you become a specialist, you know.
I get
So
that.
you're
I
not a
get that.
general practitioner of the tradition anymore. You've actually initiated into something. It's just like if somebody initiates into Ifa, you become a babalawo or an Iyanifa or an awo for the first couple of years, and then you become a babalawo or Iyanifa after you acquire the knowledge.
Mm,
But as you're sitting, you're learning everything about Ifa. You're learning Ifa Odu. You're learning the stories of Ifa. You're actually, if you're from here, you're starting to learn to speak the language. So you
mm.
can actually quote Odu back when you're doing divination. So
Right on.
it's a lifelong practice of the spirit that you have been with or that you initiated it to. It's like it never stops. It continues to go on. You just have to become a specialist in what you're doing now.
Right on. So what are you initiated to?
So I am initiated into a priestess of Oya. I am also initiated into Egbe, which is our heavenly mates, our spiritual guides. I have one hand of Ifa, and I'm scratched into the culture of Palomayombe.
Okay. I'm really I'm really interested in that Pio Myombe, if that's what you're saying. Say that again. I love the way you
Palo,
say it. Palo
Palo, Mayombe.
Myombe.
So I don't speak much on it because
Okay. Okay.
it's a very secret tradition. But I am scratched as a Yayi and Kisi in that culture. But it's a very secret tradition. We uphold all secrets and our rights to our secrets. It is a healing tradition. It is an ancestral tradition. So we have very, very heavy connections to our ancestral energies, or what we call our Bakulu, which is the dead, or our ancestral dead.
Okay, that makes sense. Egg Bay. What's the Egg Bay?
So Egbe is your heavenly mates.
All right.
Egbe is also the people that you end up meeting, like me and you right now with Egbe. So
Okay.
at some point in time when we were in a room, we said, "Hey girl, when I see you down on our we're gonna link up so we can go ahead and push each other into whatever direction we need to go into." So
Right
Egbe
on.
can be a friend, Egbe can be an enemy, but it's gonna be
Mm.
something here on earth that's gonna help push you towards your destiny. But it's an agreement that you already made. So it's kind of like I have an avatar that's in heaven.
Got you. Got you.
My consciousness is not on this earth. They say our consciousness is in heaven.
All right.
So we are able to communicate with that heavenly spirit and then all of the connections of heavenly spirits that we have around us. And each person that you meet in your life will help you on your destiny. Either they're going to stop you from going the wrong way or they're going to help you go the way that you're supposed to be going. So sometimes we have to understand that those things we consider as bad things are not so bad. They're
Got you.
actually helping us to align ourselves with our destiny. And there are different class of egbe. It's so much you could talk about with egbe, but
Mm,
there are different class of egbe. There are some people that are actually born to come here to be rulers. Then they have
mm.
people that are born to come here to die. And we do work for them to make sure, and they're called Abiku. We do work for those children that are Abiku so they won't die early before they're able to do their destiny. But doing divination, we already know that they are Egbe and that they're Abiku, so their destiny is already saying that they're going to die young. So we do the divination and the work to make sure that they live a full extent of life. So
Got
that's
you.
just a little bit on what Egbe is, but Egbe
Right
is
on.
very broad.
Okay. What about oh yeah.
Oya. So Oya is my mother. I'm initiated into Oya. I've been initiated into Oya 4 years now, going on 5 years this year. Oya is the mother of the winds. She gives you your first breath, and she takes your last breath. Oya is who we called on to help us with funeral rites. They say she sits at the gate of the cemetery, but Oya
Mhm.
also sits at the marketplace. So Oya is the money maker, right? She helps
Mm.
you to get the money that you need and sell the products that you need to sell. She's very good with marketplace energy. A lot of people don't talk about that aspect of Oya. They always say, "Oh, she walks with the egungun are her children, or so on and so forth." But Oya is so much more. She does convene with the dead. She does have egungun as her children. She is the representation of the cemetery, but she's also the representation of change and transformation. So when you need to change things in your life, you make prayers to Oya to make those changes. You ask for them to be sweet and ask for them to be soft and comforting. Or she will come through like a category 5 stone. But she's good in all ways, and then she can be bad in some ways too, but she's used to sweep and to cleanse.
So, how did you know that you were a child of Oya? Like, how did she claim you?
So I really didn't know. I was like the rest of my sisters out here. I'm gonna be Oshun. I'm Oshun. I'm gonna wear me some pretty flowers. And then I grew up. I was doing hair growing up and all this. I like to be cute, you know. So I was thinking that I was Oshun's energy. And so I had a reading done by a Babalawo, and the Babalawo was like, "Well, you are ya." And I was like, "Who is Aya?" Because I didn't even know who she was. And so the internet will scare you. So I went online and I was like, I'm gonna Google Aya, right? And when I Google her, it's like all this death and all this other stuff that pops up. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? And I saw the beauty in it though, because I started understanding that I was more connected to Oya than I was with Oshun. I would always have dreams of the dead. I would always help guide people to the other side when I was sleeping. I was always the person in the family that would help with funeral arrangements, and everybody came to me first to do anything that had something to do with death. But I was always fascinated by dead things. I just wanted to know. I had to be around. I was like, I'm gonna just be an undertaker. But I understood my connection, and I understood my connection was more with Aya than it was with anything. But I had a surprising turn about a year or two ago. And I had another reading done after my priesthood, and I had what they call a roots reading done.
Mm.
And my roots reading told me that I was Oshun lineage. So I felt kind of weird because I was like, so are you saying that I'm like not Aya's child anymore? What are you saying? Like I said, I was Oshun from the beginning. And so what I found out was that you can actually have lineage with another Orisha and still have your Ori crowned, your Orisha that you came from Orun with. And it was confusing to me. And sometimes I still get confused by it. But then I see the energy throughout my family of Oshun, even through their divination. Like my daughter's divination, she has Oshun energy. My mother has Oshun energy. But you can pick your Ori when you come from Orun, the energy that's going to help you down here on earth to fulfill your destiny. And for some reason, my crazy self was up there talking about, oh yeah, come on, we about to go tear some stuff up. So yeah, but it made sense to me because I always saw this balance that I had between those two energies. And then I got another reading. I'm glad you put this screen up. Got another reading that was saying that Yemoja walked it close to me too. So it became this energy of these goddess that I had that walked side by side with me throughout my life. But we as human beings can deal with any Orisha energy at any time. They're our aunts and our uncles, even if they don't rule our head. So if you are a child of Yemanja, you can still work with the energy of Ogun when you call him forward. You can
Mm.
still work with Shango Kabiesi when you call him forward. You can still have the energy of Oshun at sometimes. We're able to dip through these energies. The problem is that we personify them too much.
Mm.
When they are energy, They are frequencies. I can be in the frequency of Aya right now, and then I can go into the frequency of Oshun whenever I feel like it. We're able to move through these different frequencies and vibrations whenever we need to. If things are not so sweet in our life, we go and we take some honey and we do ritual for Oshun.
Mm,
But we have to remember that they're so much more than human personifications. They are spiritual energy. They are forces of nature.
wow, that is so true. So how long? How long have you been studying, at least for your lineage and who you're initiated to? How long have you been studying?
So I've been studying Oya for about 5 years now. I've been studying the culture of Ifa, even though I'm not fully initiated into Ifa. I've been studying Ifa for about 13 years and Orisha about the same time. But I always tell like my godchildren, I tell them I'm a general practitioner. I need y'all to be specialists because I ended up getting all my Orisha at one time. And so I had to start learning all the different Orisha because I had all of them in my home. And so, whereas they would receive their Orisha and they would specialize in their personal Orisha, and if they decided or if a divination said that they needed another Orisha down the road, they will receive that one too. So, but we made it that way because, coming here to America, we ended up having to get all those Orisha back so we can teach them to our family, our
Right
loved
on.
ones, our community. So we started making Orisha priests that carried all of the Orisha. Whereas in Africa, if you are a specific Orisha, that is the tribe that you live with and you learn with.
Ah, okay. I get that. I get that. Um, do you find when you're dealing with people that are directly from Africa, does this make it easier to relate to them, or do you think sometimes they struggle that you may have them all and not just
So
one?
I've had situations where they didn't understand, but a lot of situations they did. Like they understood the culture and they understood what we had to go through to get our medicine back. So the most that I've had, and I don't keep people around me that have negative energy towards the way that we
Right on.
practice here, because it wasn't our fault that our ancestors were brought here. And
Got
if
you.
they have an issue with that, then they got an issue with me.
Got you.
So what I do understand is that a lot of people that are in my company, they know what we've been through to get what we have. So they respect it. Now, this doesn't say that they don't try to introduce us back to Isheshe ways, which is beautiful and that's fine. But the way that we've been doing it these years have been working for us.
Right on.
So I don't mind learning Isheshe. It's a beautiful thing because I have spoken to different Babalawos and Orishas about Isheshe, and I have learned a lot. I've learned a whole lot. Like the way that I deal with some of my Orisha, I learned how to deal with them different ways that brought more Ashe, more power, more energy into dealing with them quicker. But I don't put away the fact that we do the things the way we do it is because how we were brought here. But a lot of people are understanding from the culture
Mhm.
why we have the things that we have the way that we do. Because if we didn't, we wouldn't have been able to pass this knowledge on.
So you said you have godchildren,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So are you a uh yay or like, 'cause you have a house, so you're a godmother, you're like, how does that roll?
So I am an Iya of a house. The house is called Ile Iya Miati Egum. I have 56 godchildren at this time.
Wow.
Some of them are here in Houston. A lot of them are here in Houston, but I have some that's in Florida, North Carolina, and a few other places. And we have been growing. We've been a house for going on 2 years now. We are an Oshun house,
Oh, wow.
which is weird enough because when the divination was done for the Ile, it did come down in Oshemeji, which is the Odu of Oshun, and it came in Ire for blessings of growth. So I am a teacher. I do teach Orisha medicine. I do teach different cultures and traditions inside of my spiritual house. We are a blended house. So sometimes people would ask you, what is your house? What is the lineage of your house? Well, my lineage is very mixed. My Oluo was actually birthed from a Shangolere May, which was from Oyotunji village, and Baba Ipega from Africa. So his culture was mixed. My Ajibona is from Oyotunji village, you know. So there's a mixture of some Lukumi inside of our practice, and some people frown upon it. Some people are not happy that we are blended, and that is not their business. Our work works.
Right on.
So you are going to sometimes have different people that are going to initiate you into different cultures. In Egbe, I received Egbe through Isheshe.
Right on.
So it's hard for me to tell them, hey, oh, we just Lukumi, because then Lukumi is going to be like, y'all don't practice our stuff the way that we do it.
I get that.
I can't say we're all Oyotunji because Oyotunji is going to say, y'all don't practice the stuff the way we do it. So the only thing that you can say is that you're blended, because there's so many fights and wars about how you practice spirituality, which is like, if we're all supposed to be practicing Iwa Pele, Iwa Rere, or Suru, we're doing a horrible job of it as a culture, because we're so judgmental and we're telling people how to run their practices and how to do their things. As long as they're not doing anything that jeopardizes their character or the character of the community, mind your business.
Right on.
As long as you have lineage, who am I to question you? I can't. My teachers are still alive. Those people that initiated me are still alive. If they ever wanted to know what my lineage was, they can call me and they can get my lineage. But people frowned upon mixed houses a lot, or blended houses a lot. But our house is blended, and I'm very proud of it.
Right on, right on. It kind of makes sense because we know we're in the world where a lot of things are blended to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it just kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think when people, what they call it, when people are culturalists or they're into like, you must do it this way, you must be, it's like, well, what if that's not how the person was able to survive? That's like when people are they may not have coconut, to use, so they have to use something else, or they may not, you know what I mean? Like people make do with what they have, but as long as they're like, you know, on point, you know what I'm saying? Like black people, we're so used to make and do. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? We just make do. Like, yo, we ain't got that, but we got this. You know what I'm saying? So I feel you on that. And I've never really heard of the term when people say blended. Usually people be from one tradition or another, but they never really talk about being blended. And we know we live in a society where a lot of things are blended.
And we talked about that a little earlier when we was talking about New Orleans traditional voodoo.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even the way that Haiti practices voodoo. There's a lot of similarities,
Right.
but it's a different blend. So they have their own twist of the way they do things. Do everybody accept it? No. But a lot of people do accept it. And I remember a Babalawo that had did some work for me a while back. I watched the way he did a ritual and I was like, my old Luwo never did it that way. And he said, look, if the work works, I said,
Gotcha.
okay, and his work worked.
Right on, right on. How does when you join a house or what is what is expected in the house? What is
So
it the same as joining church?
I don't like church.
Okay. Yeah.
but but no, and I grew up in the church. Like my
Okay.
grandmother used to drag me around that corner to this little holy church that she used to go to all the time. And I swear it was old hoodoo in that church. The old hymns and the slow singing and the candles and all. But yeah. So when you're joining a house, first you want to do some research on it. So
Okay.
don't just jump into a house. Don't just jump into a spiritual house, because your life depends on this.
That's right.
Your life depends on this. You are putting a lot of your power, your ori, into your teacher's hand. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to research the person that is over that house. Who they are, how they work, what things they do. Do they have lineage?
Mm,
What their character's like? The person who has that spiritual house, they should always look at what their godchildren have going on too. And it should be an introductory reading done. So when they
mm.
come to you, a spiritual reading should be done. You should know whatever that godchild has going on. And then there should be a probation period for both of you. There should be a 90-day probation period to see if this is where that godchild wants to be and this is where you want them to be. That's the first things you want to know, what that Elay is about, what the godparent is about. You want to know some history on that godparent. How do they
Mm,
treat their godchildren? You need a probationary period for you and that godparent to see how your relationship is going to flow together, to see the relationship you're going to have with other people that are in that Elay or that house.
mm. Right
That's
on.
your first point. Are you going to grow there?
Mm,
Because some of these people will give you implements and then you on your own after that. You got to figure out what you got to do, what to do with the implements, how you do your prayers. Do I turn around 3 times? Do I jump 2 times? What's going on? So you
right.
want to know, is your godparent going to teach you what you need? Are you going to get the tools? Or do you become a slave in that house? And what
Mm,
I mean by slave is the only way you can get work done is if you go through that godparent to get work done. They never teach you how to fully take care of yourself.
mm.
So you need to be learning how to take care of yourself. Another thing when you're going into a spiritual house, you have to know what Ori is. The Ori is the consciousness, this is your head. How do you take care of your Ori? Because you're dealing with different spirits and then you're opening up gateways. You're going into your higher consciousness when you start taking a spiritual journey. So there's more frequencies and vibrations that are opening to you, which means you're going to have to take more care of your head, of your consciousness, because you can lose yourself in these spirits. You also have to know how to keep certain spirits away, how to wash away negativity. So your godparents should
Mm.
be well versed in teaching you how to take care of your Ori. And
Gotcha.
that is the main things that you need if you're going to journey with any spiritual house. Even if it was me, do your research.
Right on.
You may not want to sit under me, but there are many other people, and godparents are people that run Elay should be able to point those people in the right directions that may be good for them if they can't deal with them. But sometimes they be like, oh, well, I can't deal with them, so they just throw them to the streets. No, these people have already started their spiritual journey and they came to you. So at least make the effort to make a referral.
Right on. Right on. So with these elays, do you all work with different elays across the country? Is there like an association where you all kind of meet up, or do they not like sometimes in other traditions they have like conventions and where people get to meet folks who practice in the same tradition but maybe from different places? Do y'all do any of that?
So what I have noticed, and I thought I asked that question myself some years ago, I have noticed that there's a lot of separation in these different communities. However, the one that I've seen the most that has a lot of interactions with different people is Golden Harvest Temple. And this is underneath Iyalode. I'm sorry, Olori Oshun
Oh
Limited.
yeah, I know her. Okay.
So Balewa. So she has godchildren all over, and she has people that love her that are not her godchildren. And a lot of things that she has go on, she opens it up to everybody to be a part of. I've seen different spiritual events that different elays will go to, like Sunny Patterson. She has the Algiers Ancestral Festival in New
Mm,
Orleans that she does. It's actually coming up on the 4th through 5th of November this year. And a
mm,
lot of different people from different houses go there. Also, Sankofa Caravan to the Ancestors, that Baba Kofi does at National Black United Front in Galveston. That's coming up actually this weekend.
mhm.
A lot of different spiritual houses fly in, Black Panthers, a lot of different everything comes in. I have not seen a council of elders, which I wish is something that we would have, because we would have more order in the community. Because people sometimes, when they don't sit under somebody, they do whatever they want to do. So I would love to see a council of elders in the United States. I would love to see a big convention of Orisha and Ifa people getting together once a year somewhere in the country.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
if it's happening, I don't know about it.
No, I
And
don't
I've
either.
been in this culture for a while and I've traveled different places. So it's like, I would love to see some type of unity like that, because do you know the amount of healing that can happen for the culture just with these priests coming together and making those prayers from different houses? I don't care how you pray. I don't care if you get on one knee when you do Bali or both knees. It's not even about your differences. We need to come together because the earth needs it because she's dying. And the people need it because they're losing their minds.
It's real talk. It's real
So
talk.
we do need a council of elder, and we do need some community events that come together to help us grow. I think Oyatunji does events where different people show up also. I don't think they've been that big though as they should be. But there are also other villages that are erecting now in the United States. Oba Ogunlano has his own village, I believe, down in Miami now. And
Hmm.
then also Baba JJ Ola has a village in Cairo, Georgia, that he just erected
Oh,
for Oshun Golden Harvest Village.
okay, okay, okay,
So he erected that village in honor of Olori Oshun Monife.
okay.
So there are some villages that's being built that I'm sure a lot of people are going to be able to come to. It won't be an issue, but we do need a council. And
How,
maybe those different villages can be the council.
yeah, start somewhere.
Mhm.
How does your activism connect to your spiritual belief?
So this is the beautiful part. My oh yeah. The warrior woman. So I love being out and doing things for our people. Not just activists, not just the activists, but advocacy too. Like making sure we have what we need in the community also. So being a spiritual person and having good character, we should be able to look out for the community which we are a part of, or the community that we are benefiting from. Because people come to us, but we also benefit from those people. We learn lessons and we also are paid for the work that we do. Sometimes we're not, but it's still some type of benefit. So it's about giving back to the community when you're taking these spiritual steps, making sure you're taking care of everybody that you come in contact with, making sure you're leaving a good impression on them, making sure that you teach what we originally had that people lost. So that in itself is a form of advocacy, making sure that everybody gets the medicine back that was taken away from at one point in time, but also being a voice. If you have authority in different situations and certain people know you from doing the work, why can you not stand up for the people that need you? We cannot be silenced or we cannot be silent in situations where our community needs us. You shouldn't just be there to help just with a reading or to help, wash somebody's or read. What about people, children that are being wrongfully put in jail? What about the cops murdering our children? What about our men being arrested for crimes that they didn't commit and sitting in jail for time that they shouldn't be there? What about the laws that they're passing underneath our feet and we're not doing anything about it? There's been so much that's happened over this time period, and everybody says, "Oh, I ain't gonna worry about it. I ain't gonna look that way." But you look that way when it happened to your people. You don't want to wait until the time that it happens to you and your family, and then
Mhm.
you're looking for other people to help you with the situation. You start now.
Right.
Because whether you like it or not, if you allow it to keep happening to other people, it eventually show up at your doorstep.
Yes, it will.
So when we have issues in the community, we have to be on the front line. And even if you're not directly on the front line face to face with the police, what can you do inside of an organization like National Black United Front to make sure that everything is running smooth? Even if you're passing out flyers. Because everybody's not made for the front line. I get adrenaline from being on the front line. I'll be like,
Right.
that's my spiritual experience.
Right on. Right
So
on.
you have to know where you fit in and you play a part. Even if it's not being on the front line, you got to feed the hood. You can come together and make sure that when these organizations in your community is passing out food and stuff, you're one of the volunteers that are there to make sure that the community is getting the food that they need.
Right on.
So you
Right on.
have different places that you can fall in. It's not always, standing on the front line fighting the powers that be. There are
Right.
different things that need to be done in our community behind the scenes. Clean up a park.
Real talk.
You can go and pick up like what? Maybe 10 people in your neighborhood or 10 friends that you probably drink with all the time and say, man, we're going to walk through the hood today and pick up some of these papers and stuff. Make sure the elders got their meal from the mailbox. Do well check up on our elders in the community.
Real talk.
It doesn't have to always be fighting, but we need to be more active. And that is where my passion comes from. I get adrenaline from it. I love it. I love standing up for my people. I love being on the front lines. I hate the situations that sometimes happen for us to have to do it, but I love being the person to stand up and do that and be the support of it. And we have to start digging in our community and seeing what it needs. Crime rate is rising.
Hmm.
People are not in their right frame of mind after sitting on in solitude through this whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
This is the first time the whole entire world has experienced tragedy together like that.
Right.
So it's not like your PTSD, you could turn to somebody else and they don't have it because everybody got it.
Right.
And it's showing in the way that everybody is reacting with each other. There's no compassion, there's no mercy.
It's real talk.
So being a spiritual guide or a spiritual guide, you can actually go into the communities and start talking to people. That is part of community healing. Drum circles. The things you do, like traveling with the women, bringing them different places to just put their hands on Harriet Tubman's grave,
Yeah.
to get that spirit of freedom.
Right on.
These are the things that we all have to be responsible for, taking care of our people.
That's real
So
talk.
spirituality and activism goes hand in hand. And I know, you know what, Mama C and Baba Smalls is actually going to be here in Houston tomorrow doing a
Ah,
panel on how do you merge spirituality and activism together.
that's what's up.
So I'm excited about that. I actually think
Yeah,
she's
that's
in
gonna
town
be
already. I don't know what to do with myself because I'm excited about that.
that's gonna be beautiful. Every year I keep saying I'm gonna make it to the caravan, to the ancestors, and
Next
like
year.
something always comes up. I think one year is a hurricane or something came, and I was like, "Oh Lord!" Like I had my tickets and everything. Me and some friends, I was like, "We ain't going down there," you know. So maybe definitely next year.
Mm-hmm.
I
I'm gonna put you
definitely
on my
gotta.
list for next year then.
Yeah, I'm so serious. I'm definitely. I was like, God, I gotta. When we do the road trip, I love when we go through Houston. I love going through
Mhm.
Texas. Period. So it's just the people are so real. Like
Texas is hot.
one year we come went through there, and it was like I think it was like the 4th of July or something. We was on the road, and we
Mm-hmm.
went to the black part of town, and, and we were trying to find out we could get some barbecue, and it was a black family having a barbecue. They was like, "Come on," and that was the first time I ever had brisket.
Are
We had
you
a great
serious?
time. They took care of us like we was their relatives and
Baby, that's
packed
all
us
they
up
cook out
food.
here is brisket.
Yeah, and they packed us up food to go. Like, here's what y'all, because we were driving down to the border to document a civil disobedience. So we had left early to make it down to McAllen, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
They treated us like we were their family. Like that was like my girls were like, they don't even know us. I'm like, girl, we family.
You
That's
know
the way
that
it's
Southern
supposed to be.
hospitality.
Yeah, I said, "That's the way it's supposed to be." But they
Right.
had a good time, like, so, I mean, I just feel like Texas is one of those places that, I just love it. I mean, I do. I love New Orleans, though, too. So, I've always had really good receptions in the South.
So I be back and forth through them all. I be from here, home at New Orleans, be in Georgia, then I'm in Pensacola, and I'm bouncing back and forth through all of them all day, just
I
riding
love
the
it.
South all the time. Because it's so much love in our people down here as far as how they, greet you and stuff like
I
that.
love it. I love
So
it.
I love being in the South. I
I do
love
too.
being in the South. I went to New York a couple of times and people just would look at me when I'm speaking and I'm like, I'm not used to this.
New Yorkers are a trip.
I was in Virginia, but Virginia gave me a little bit of hospitality. You can tell you got some Southerners
Yeah.
that live up in Virginia because when you speak, they spoke back. So I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, this is different.
I just love it. I just, we are like amazing people, whether if we know it or not, considering all the things that we've gone through and we're still
Right.
holding on and we still like I always think it's a blessing when we rediscover what was ours in the first place.
Hmm. Right.
You
Right.
know what I mean? It's like the answer's like, what you've been waiting on. I've been trying to get your attention for a minute, but I'm
Mhm.
glad you got it. You know what I mean? Like we've been waiting on you. We got work to do.
No, it's just like we have to find our way back to who we are.
Right on.
We have to. It's so much fear that's been installed in us, and these last 3 years was like a fearful. They put an overload of fear on us these last 3 years.
Hmm.
They played with our mental. They know exactly what they were doing and why they were doing it.
Yep, that's real talk.
They know. So it's like it's we just have to get our medicine. We have to get our medicine and remember who we are, and we got to get rid of the fear.
That's real talk.
We have to get rid of the fear. And if you remove that fear, all the anxiety is gone, the PTSD is gone, all of the mental issues that we're struggling with is gone, the confusion is gone
That's
because
right.
we feel what we don't understand.
That's really the truth. Yeah, you're
Hmm.
absolutely right. Sis, thank you so much for giving me your time this afternoon. I was taking a gang of notes. I'm always taking notes. I always feel like I don't know. I just wish we would talk more, like in terms of if the tradition was more like sometimes people act like it's in secret, or and it's like what, like one of the things about Christianity, like it or not, it be on every corner.
Hmm.
You can't help but to see it. I mean, even if you don't understand it, you're like, oh, they go to church, they go to church. But with us, sometimes some of us we be so close with it. And it's like,
Right.
how do we? That's why when people flock to Beyonce and people get mad, she thinks she Oshun. Well, maybe people are looking for Oshun.
But she is Oshun.
I know, but I'm just saying, people like, but how some people like, well, they think that she's Oshun, or and it's like, well, maybe people like the idea, like maybe they need some Oshun.
Make
Maybe
that
they don't,
exactly.
yeah, maybe they don't know that there's other things around them that really is connected to who they really are.
And you know what's so crazy is I noticed that a lot of people here that are not of our,
Huh? We'll talk.
they don't want us to have the medicine back. They don't. I've had you wouldn't believe the
Yeah.
rude phone calls that I've had when I was initiated into Palo Mayombe. Oh, you can't be a Yayi because you're not Cuban, Afro Cuban. I'm talking about nasty calls from paleros and stuff like that, talking about what I couldn't do and why I couldn't do it and what they was gonna do to me. And I'm like, we have our medicine back. And whatever I have to do to stand up for the medicine to continue to come back to our people, I will do it.
Right on. And
So,
I also think we gotta stop trying to police shit.
right,
Like spirit is spirit. Like quit it. Like just knock
right,
it off. Like quit trying to put it in your box in your back pocket.
right.
It's not
So she
yours
got
like
Oshun, so
that.
you can't have Oshun.
Yeah, it's like, dude, like, why y'all over here gang banging? Like, what's going on? Like, why y'all set tripping? It
He
ain't that
straight said
deep.
gang banging.
Yeah, man. I just be like, I mean, y'all, come on. Like, you should be happy somebody got it. I get excited, and it's funny because when I'm teaching in my class, there'll be some kid who see my eleckies and go, um, what's that? Because they've seen it before. And they be
Mhm.
like, oh, yeah, my grandma. Like, they'll tell me, and it's like, yeah, usually they be like, because you usually don't talk about that. I'm like, girl, this is who I am. I wear it in juvenile hall. I wear it everywhere I go, court, everywhere. Nobody, girl, please. This is like, give me a break. But I also know there are people who, and this is always, I dress like this like every day. Usually people be thinking I'm from somewhere else.
Mhm.
And then the respect level is different.
Mhm.
And I'd be saying,
Right.
no, I'm really African American. I don't even know how to tell you this. Like, I'm from right here. You know what I'm saying? But they'll be like, "Oh, what country are you from in Africa?" Dude, I'm from the whole planet. Don't get it twisted.
I'm from everywhere. I'm
I'm
from the
from everywhere.
universe.
Yeah, like this. Oh, I'm your mama. You know what I'm saying? Like you really my children, but that's a whole nother story for another time. But you know
Mhm.
what I mean? But I watch all of those little things, and I just feel like it means something when you stand in your truth. You don't have to be afraid of how people are gonna see it.
Mhm. Yep.
Just and we know how some of that we know because we've been in America. We know how to be like, I'm a Humpty Dum. We're gonna do what we're gonna do. Like you know what I'm saying. And so I want to see us open this up more because I really
Mhm.
think when people seen the Woman King, that a lot of that was in there. Like people came out like, wow, I didn't know that. Like it just
Yep.
didn't seem the way people thought it was.
They're gonna flock to the cultures. A
Yeah,
lot of the I've seen a lot of the movies and stuff that they're creating. They're gonna flock to the cultures, but you
oh
have
yeah,
to pray that they flock the right way.
I get that.
Because just like there's craziness in the streets, there's craziness inside of the culture.
I get that. And some people
So
are like, somebody told me once, it's like you have to be careful if you give a baby a loaded gun. You know what I mean? Some people are like babies, and then sometimes they get a lot of power because they are powerful, but then they don't know what to do with it.
right,
That's why things take time. When I
right,
see people trying to do the shortcut, it's like, that's not going to end well. It's a shortcut for a reason. That's why you don't want to, you can't learn the alphabet and skip the middle of it and just do the first 5 letters and do the last 5 letters. You can't
right.
even form a sentence without, a word with all the letters in the middle. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So just take your time. Like, everything's on time, in time, and right on time. Like,
Right,
you got this. You know what I mean? But I also think some of us come into things and you see the power of it, and then you kind of lose your mind sometimes. Not all of
right,
us, but some of us get crazy. And then some of us take our time and it end up being beautiful. So I thank you so much for, like, giving me your time, sharing so much of your wisdom. I mean, every time I asked you something, you was like, "Oh, that was I loved it." I just like, wow, like I felt like, man, I should have, like, she got all the juice up in here because you were like breaking down like all the different traditions, and usually people be like, "Oh, we don't cross that." Like, I hear that a lot. We don't mix that with this and
right.
or that. You can. I'm like, well, damn, it kind of okay. Like, what if somebody came from that tradition? Like, how
And
can
it's,
you?
that's what you like. The cultures are going to mix at some point. That's why I always say we do not. I have a video literally on YouTube that say blended culture, but not blended ritual.
Got that?
So you can do whatever you want in the culture. You could dance right now for the Native Americans and turn around and dance for the Orisha if you want to. But when you are in ritual, you cannot mix ritual.
That makes so much sense. That make a lot of sense. Sis, don't go anywhere. Let me just wrap this up real quick. Family, thank you so much. I'll be back next week. Thank you, sis, for being my guest today. Okay, hold on.